For decades, the story of a thriving black business district was erased from textbooks, allowing generations to believe that Tulsa's prosperity had always been unchallenged, a narrative that benefited those who profited from the silence and preserved their own legacy of dominance. The truth of what happened in May 1921 matters today because the wounds of that erasure still shape economic disparity, civic trust, and the collective memory of American race relations. The mounting tension was not the result of a single angry crowd, but a system, a web of municipal authority, white supremacist organization, and media complicity that normalized intimidation under the guise of public order. In early June 1921, rumors of a black political rally swirled through Greenwood streets, inflaming fear among white residents who imagined an uprising that could upend their control. When the Independent Press Guild obtained letters linking Police Chief J.H. McCullough to militia leaders planning a coordinated assault, they faced a choice: protect the status quo or reveal the conspiracy. Their decision was decisive. In a front-page investigative piece dated June 5, the newspaper detailed how city officials had met with members of the White Citizens Council, mapping out routes for armed men and allocating police resources to facilitate arson rather than prevent it. The article did not name a single villain. It illuminated a pattern of collusion that turned law enforcement into an instrument of terror. Readers across Tulsa felt the weight of proof that their own safety had been compromised by those sworn to protect them. The Guild's boldness sparked immediate backlash: threats, legal summonses, and attempts to silence the press, yet the story continued to spread through churches, schools, and community meetings. The federal government could no longer ignore the mounting evidence of organized violence. Within days of the expose, the Department of Justice dispatched a commission to Tulsa, placing the city under temporary oversight. Federal marshals arrived, halting further mobilization of militia groups and ordering an immediate ceasefire. This intervention was not a simple act of rescue. It was a recognition that local institutions had become part of a larger machinery that permitted extrajudicial punishment of black citizens. The Oversight Board demanded the suspension of all police patrols in Greenwood, the removal of armed white volunteers from city streets, and the preservation of any remaining evidence for investigation. Though brief, this federal presence prevented an immediate second wave of destruction and signaled to the nation that unchecked municipal power could be checked. Even as outside forces intervened, the residents of Greenwood organized their own defense. The Greenwood Business Council convened emergency meetings in the basement of the black-owned bank, coordinating volunteers to guard storefronts, distribute food, and tend to the wounded. They erected makeshift barricades from salvaged lumber, not with the intention of escalating violence, but to protect what remained of their homes and livelihoods. Their actions reflected a resilient community refusing to be passive victims. Men, women, and children formed watch groups that patrolled streets at night, offering early warnings if hostile forces approached. Though outgunned, they leveraged intimate knowledge of the neighborhood's layout, using alleys and courtyards to evade capture. Their solidarity underscored a stark truth: when institutions betray their charge, self-reliance becomes an act of survival. In the months that followed, Congress convened a hearing to investigate the attempted massacre. Senators called witnesses from Tulsa, survivors, law enforcement officials, and members of the White Citizens Council. As testimony unfolded, many white leaders invoked their Fifth Amendment rights, refusing to answer questions about coordination with militia forces. Their silence became a powerful indictment in itself. The hearing revealed that lawsuits filed by survivors in 1921 had been dismissed on flimsy grounds, reinforcing a legal system that systematically denied redress. Yet the very act of bringing the issue before a national audience forced the country to confront an uncomfortable chapter it had long ignored. The trial did not deliver immediate justice, but it exposed the institutional mechanisms, court dismissals, police collusion, and political denial that had kept the tragedy hidden for generations. Federal funds were allocated to rebuild Greenwood's shattered infrastructure. New streets were laid, homes reconstructed, and a modest school erected for displaced children. However, as bricks rose from the ashes, the narrative of what had been destroyed was deliberately scrubbed from textbooks and curricula. History books across the United States described Tulsa's growth without mentioning the violence that preceded it. This selective memory served to protect the reputations of those who benefited from the land seized during Reconstruction, while simultaneously denying survivors acknowledgement of their loss. The physical rebuilding could not erase the erasure of truth. Instead, it created a paradox where a community was restored materially but remained invisible in the nation's collective story. Decades later, archaeologists employing ground-penetrating radar uncovered anomalies beneath Greenwood streets, large voids that suggested mass burial sites. Excavations revealed human remains consistent with the estimated death toll of the 1921 massacre, confirming oral histories long dismissed as myth. These discoveries forced a painful reckoning. Beneath the rebuilt neighborhood lay silent testimony to lives abruptly ended and deliberately concealed. The findings reignited public demand for full disclosure, prompting city officials, historians, and activists to press for comprehensive investigations. The graves became more than physical evidence. They symbolized the depth of suppression that had allowed an entire generation to forget a catastrophe that shaped their descendants' socio-economic reality. In 2021, on the centennial of the tragedy, Tulsa's mayor issued a formal apology acknowledging the city's role in the massacre and the subsequent cover-up. A memorial plaza was dedicated at the heart of Greenwood, inscribed with the names of those lost and the words "never again." Moreover, the municipal council approved a reparations fund aimed at providing direct compensation to surviving families and supporting community development projects. These steps do not undo the past, but they mark a deliberate shift from denial toward accountability. The apology, memorial, and reparations represent an institutional acknowledgement that the system which once concealed violence can also be mobilized to heal it. As Tulsa looks forward, the story of Black Wall Street serves as a reminder that truth, however long suppressed, eventually surfaces, and with it, the possibility for genuine reconciliation. The shadows that once hid this history are receding, but their edges remain visible in the streets, the graves, and the collective consciousness. The work ahead is to ensure that remembrance becomes an active commitment, preventing any future attempt to bury truth beneath complacency.